throw me in a swimming pool of olive oil and toss me a life preserver of focaccia bread, because I'm going to eat that thing and I'm going to drown for sure.
Welcome to the Tom Story Show with Steve Karish and Tom Story, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Good thing I pressed mute.
The mute's it's the visual that's the issue, not the...
No, man, I got the phlegmy thing going on.
Is that what you were doing? I thought you were doing something
I was
different.
clearing my throat on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for
That's
hitting
not
record.
what that looked like. Okay, well, we're recording. All right.
Maybe I will cut that out.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Okay, go.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Tom Story Show. Both Steve and myself, thank you for being here. Whether you're listening on Sunday, the day it comes out, or you're listening during the week, we just want to say thank you for being a part of our growth on this channel and on this podcast. If you are, in fact, watching us on YouTube, all we ask is give this video a like and subscribe to our growing community if you have not already. Our next milestone is to get to 2,000 subscribers, which is something we think we can do in the next few months. If you're listening on the audio platforms, I hope you're having a great day. And if you haven't already, but you've been enjoying the show, make sure on Apple Podcasts you leave us a 5-star review, and we will read it live on the podcast. As we get into today's guest, it's someone I'm very, very excited to have on the show, someone that I've got to know pretty well over the last few years, and is a dominant force, a legend in Ottawa real estate, and the first person that we've had on the show from the nation's capital, in fact. So we haven't talked about Ottawa. We've kind of kept it on the side, and I feel bad. Natalie Maguire has joined the show. Natalie Maguire works for Roy LePage Team Realtor. She has a sub brokerage there in Ottawa. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, well, we are very happy to have you. Let's start with who's Natalie? What do you do? Why are we talking? What's going on? What's the backstory? How long in real estate markets that you serve in Ottawa?
Yeah. So I'm born and raised in Ottawa, and I'm in my 10th year of business already. So that's kind of happened fast and furious. I was working for the government for about 7 years and working at the KEG as a server. And then I chose to quit everything, take out a loan on my house that I owned, and give myself 6 months to make it in real estate. So I made it a full-time career. And in my first year, I sold 49 homes.
How? That's my question. How did you do that? Because my first year, I sold 3 properties.
Yeah.
I was not a success. Steve, did you sell any in your first year?
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah. So how is that possible? What's your secret? Are you a human being? What's going on? Right.
I don't feel like one anymore after 10 years, no sleep. No, I'm kidding. The first year was a lot of hours, right? So 7 days a week. It was before electronic signatures. So I was in the office until sometimes 1 a.m, back at it at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. So it was a lot of sweat equity into my business. But the big thing is I have to thank all my referrals, because family and friends believed in me. And that's who referred me. It wasn't about who's buying and selling that I knew. Right. It was who did they know and who they refer me to. And so I'm going to be forever thankful for all of my referrals, because that's most of my business still to this day.
And that says a lot too, because the thing that we're always told in the real estate industry, right, is well, you want to get to people that know, like, and trust you. Those are the people you want to talk to. And the knowing and liking part when you get in is there. But the trust part, I had a lot of people in my first year that didn't trust me. They're like, you haven't been doing it long enough. But you got that trust right away. Do you think it was just the confidence in how you were doing it?
Well, yeah, I think confidence is a big thing, but you need to build your confidence. And so I've been with Roy LePage the whole time. Yeah. It was a smart decision on my part. I love Roy LePage because they have a huge training program, but not only that, it's not online, it's face-to-face. And so when I first started my career, I was sitting down with managers who were coaching me every single week, and I chose to make it like a full-time job. So the first day I started, dress up, get into the office, and then I filled my calendar with learning from other agents and also with their program. So that built up the confidence, right? I didn't just do it 1 round. I did 3 rounds of training so that it really stuck with me. So when I was meeting with people in my first year, they would say, how do you know so much for not really selling a lot? And so that's how it started.
So it's like getting into the industry, but actually taking it very, very seriously from the beginning, which is usually the downfall. I know Steve's kind of grinning here. Like usually the downfall, people think they get in, I see other people do this. This is probably easy. I'll sell a few homes, and pretty quick you're like, oh wait, I actually not only have to know what I'm doing, but I have to work really damn hard. And you were willing to put that in at the beginning. And do you think because you took that risk, you took a loan out, that 100%. It was like, that was the thing, that was the fire under your ass going like, I'm going to make this work.
Oh, I had to make it work. And the big thing was the pressure wasn't on in terms of I need to make this sale to make my mortgage payments because I took out a loan. So I did that because I wanted to make sure I could focus 100% on my clients and make sure I'm making the best decisions for them. So I knew I was getting paid every 2 weeks like I was at the government because of my loan. And I thought, hey, my intentions are always going to be about the client. Let's now make it a full-time investment for the next 6 months. Let's go for it. Yeah. And I treated it like I was going back to school.
And now 10 years later, not only are you doing it, but you've been doing it at a high level for a decade. And just to put it into context for Steve is like, Natalie's been in the Chairman's Club for Royal LePage, which represents the top 1% of 20,000 people. But most of the people in that club have teams of 6, 7, 10 plus people. Natalie's been doing it essentially on your own or with a small team the entire time. So I know how hard you've worked to get to this point. So just want to make that very clear so Steve kind of knows that he's talking to someone that knows what they're doing, It's not like he's talking to me. He's got a real smart person in the room.
I mean, we kind of have a similar book of business in a sense, but people may be thinking, does she have a life? Right. Because
or so did she have a life? Does she have a life now? Yeah.
I prioritize family and friends, and how I book it in is that, let's say I'm invited to an event or even like a bridal shower. I'll book it in like it's a meeting. Yeah. So every day I'm doing real estate. I've done real estate every day for the last 10 years and I'm okay with that. I love it, even on vacation. It's just if I have these certain things I need to do, I may just not have client meetings during that time. Or if I'm going on vacation, I've been getting a little bit better. I do have more help while I'm on vacation, but I'll just still take calls here and there and make sure that our offers are handled.
Steve's the only person I really know in this industry that can go on vacation and legitimately like shut off his phone. Like
it's a dream.
It's tough. Like, I mean, you can do it because the team structure and everything, Steve, but like even when I'm away, even if I leave stuff with the team, like my anxiety of still wanting to know what the hell's going on, how do you do that, Steve? How do you shut it down? Because I can't do it.
That's the point, Tom. Living through that anxiety is the whole thing. It's not easy for me to put that crap down. It's not easy for me to put my phone down. But putting down my phone like this last week when I was off a couple weeks ago, it's terrible. It's like you wake up in the morning and you're like, because I literally like put my phone downstairs, turned it off, changed the SIM card to a different phone. So it's like I get downstairs and it's like, oh, there's no phone to look at.
What do you
now?
Do?
What do I do?
You've been reading, I hear.
I picked up a book. We can talk about that more later because I found a book that changed my life. So, or is about to change my business anyway. But like, it is an uncomfortable feeling that our society is no longer okay with. Mm-hmm. Right? Just to be able to unplug. And Tom, I'm telling you, you got trouble. Like when we've been at conferences before, Natalie, I've turned to Tom and I've taken his phone away. And you should see when I'll do it to a lot of people at a conference and I'll be like, nope, you can have this done at the break. You can have this back at the break. And they get angry. And then I said, in trade, here you can have my phone. And then I get a bunch of stupid pictures of Tom on my phone because you can still unlock the camera. But I will do that to you. And if anybody wants, I will hold your phone at the next conference. I promise you will be more successful.
I'm going to hide from you.
Yeah. Hide from Steve. Don't sit in his row. I will say, though, Steve, we just launched the first week of the boot camp we've been doing for agents, and we've got 52 people signed up. And on week one, it was all about like setting up your calendar and figuring things out. And I did a whole 10 minutes on how you forced me, not just stealing my phone from me that specific time, but going in and turning off notifications on basically everything. Like, I don't know when someone likes something on Instagram until I open Instagram. I don't even have badges on my email thing. Like, I'm really like, it's text, it's calls. I don't get a lot of dings on my phone, and my life has been a lot better since.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I've taken off all notifications. I can only find out what's happening if I go into my phone.
Yeah. So that's something I would highly recommend to anyone listening that even if you don't run a business, even just like your life, like the amount of time you're spending scrolling through crap that is you don't need in your life, you could get all that time back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie, I want to talk about market. So, you work in the capital of Canada, which I don't think many people know that outside Canada. If you ask an American, they think it's Toronto, but it is in fact the capital.
You ask anybody in Toronto, they think it's Toronto.
I don't necessarily like your hockey team, but I have nothing but good things to say about the rest of Ottawa. So, what's going on? So you said you used to work for the government. Is that just like, does everyone that lives in Ottawa work for the government at some point? Is that kind of how it works?
Well, there's a big portion of our population. They do work for the city of Ottawa or the government, Canadian government. There's also other aspects. There's super, super stable community in Ottawa. And that's what's built our real estate market over the last, I would say 75 years I have stats for, and it's continually gone up in Ottawa, but steady.
Yeah.
Super steady. There's not a lot of fluctuations.
Until the last 3-4 years. So, okay, leading up to 2020, from you were selling up to that point, like the first 7 years of your career, basically, what was happening on a yearly basis? What type of price growth were you seeing in Ottawa?
Typically 1.8% growth on a freehold home, and condos aren't always as stable. I find condos in Ottawa have their ups and downs. Real estate for residential side has been like a constant, it looks like a staircase almost, like up, 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 and there's some slower times within the year. And then 2019 hit. So I'd even say like 2018, 2019, we started seeing it go from like a buyer's market into full-blown balance and then sellers. So we would start seeing people bidding 20,000 above asking. And that was a lot at the time. And then the reduction of conditions, right? So in 2019, 2020, 2021, huge increases. Like the average townhome over those 3 years may have increased over 300,000, which nearly doubled. Like, let's say you bought 7 years ago, it would almost double, right? Crazy. So tons of money in the equity of average home. And then shall we talk about the last 2 quarters of 2022?
Yeah. So then what happened? Because you went up and then it came down.
Huge ups. And we see in Ottawa, our increases happen January, February. That sets the tone for the year. So our January, February's, even though we have a ton of ice and snow, Ottawa isn't typically scared of getting out of the house. So we're out house shopping. And that's every year we kept seeing, huge increases and almost lineups to get into houses and to bid. So 20 offers and major offers. Then in 2022 spring, when the interest rates started increasing, it's like the brakes were starting to get pumped. And there was, a lot of talk about, do we sell our investments now? Do we hang on? And I was starting to see a huge drop in the number of offers that we were receiving. And on the listing side, you see a lot, right? You go, oh, maybe there's a difference of 50,000 between an offer. Maybe they're really close. But I was seeing a dramatic decrease in offers, I would say. And then throughout the summer into the fall, the brakes just kept pumping. And I would even say we were down about 30% of houses were only selling.
One out of 3 new listings was actually selling.
Maybe even less. Some neighborhoods, 10%.
And that was going from a time where it was like 80 to 90%, right? And then just like that crazy where you guys are used to a more stability, where like in Toronto, I've seen some like we're a roller coaster, right? Where Ottawa seemed more stable over a period of time. Stable. So how did the market react to never seeing these times of ups and then coming down just as fast on the tail end of it? How did the market react?
I mean, expectations were hard to manage because there weren't a lot of sales happening. So you couldn't really talk about, well, your neighbor sold for X amount, now we need to go there. There just weren't a lot of sales to base our advice on, right? So the fall, there was some uncertainty. There was a bit of frustration. A lot of people luckily understood it wasn't our fault as an agent. It was more the market and the financing and affordability of the average buyer, right? And so how we handle that is communication with our clients and just trying to educate them as much as we could throughout those moments.
Is it true that in Ottawa, so you talked about the condo market not being as good as an investment potentially as a freehold property. But you can still buy an Ottawa condo in like the 300 or 400s today, and it will cash flow at least, but it's not going to appreciate necessarily at the same. Is that kind of where it's at?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I was having a conversation with a client who wants to expand their portfolio for investments. And I was asking them, what are your goals? Are your goals to make equity inside of that investment, or do you want to buy at a low price and then you're cash flow positive and you have that property for the next 30 years? Because they want to buy them to start getting them in for their kids for future generational wealth. And so for them, they're actually going to buy condos because that makes sense for them. And sometimes you just need to get into the market at what you can afford, right? Because if you buy a freehold townhome right now in Ottawa with interest rates, you need to put about 35 to 40% down in order to even break even from your payments.
The days of 20% down cash flowing on a property in Toronto, I think were gone like 7 years ago. Steve, I'm sure it's relatively similar to your market. What do you?
I bought mine specifically because there was that like brief period of time where
in 2020, right?
Yeah, like that tiny like 2021. But yeah, I mean now back to 35% down.
So it's like, is it really cash flowing if you're manufacturing the cash flowing by putting down a big down payment? You know, like is that I don't know. Like 20 was the easy number because no mortgage insurance needed and you know that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. So and do you think there's something to be said in that about okay, in markets like Toronto and Vancouver and very expensive markets that have always been expensive, I've always looked at condos as like people don't love condos, they love the price of the condo. They love that they can buy it. But was it for a period of
a bit more central too?
Sure, yeah, agreed. Yeah, location was better, but in Ottawa, was it that up to at least, you know, pre-2019, the houses, the average person could still afford to buy a house that they didn't even look at the condo?
Yeah, so what was happening was, I would say even up until about 2018, 2019, that's where the pressure started, is that condos, when you at the time added your condo purchase price plus property taxes and condo fees, you were very close or maybe the same as maybe an entry-level freehold townhome. So that's where a lot of buyers were saying, I'd rather pay more into my principal. And I do want to correct myself a little bit. It's what's interesting is in January 2023, I noticed a ton of condos again being popular. So in Ottawa, it's just more, it goes up and down condos. It's just not guaranteed. In 10 years, I know what your estimated value may be. But because of the affordability on approvals, a lot of first-time home buyers are people that maybe were splitting up and they were a single income. They were going for condos. And that's where I started seeing multiple offers start to come back in Ottawa.
And yeah, when we say multiple offers coming back, what does that mean? So yeah, it means 2 offers. It doesn't mean 10. And does it mean that you're seeing prices over asking like you used to, or is it kind of just they're back, but
what I'm seeing is more an elevated interest in buyers willing to buy again.
Sure.
So in 2023, I'm seeing about 80% of our listings and purchases have entered into multiple offers, but maybe there's 2 for us. And in those 2, they would land at about asking maybe slightly above or slightly below. And we are seeing conditions still right now.
In the multiple offers, there's still conditions involved. Yeah.
Same as us. Exactly the same things happening here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Eh? So I see that as more of an elevated balanced market. So we're starting to get into more of a seller's market if that continues, but we're just a bit more balanced. Like there's more of the good properties being scooped up faster than an average property, let's say. So it's still important for people listing to make their house stand out because not everyone is getting those multiple offers. It's more of the, you know, the houses that have been cared for, that are decorated, that are a bit more of a wow factor. But downtown Ottawa, Westboro communities and surrounding communities that are super trendy, some of them have seen 10 offers.
This episode of The Tom Story Show is brought to you by the YouTube for Real Estate video course. Are you interested in creating an engaging, value-driven YouTube channel to help educate your client base on real estate in your market, as well as introduce a new revenue stream to your business? Perhaps you've already created a YouTube channel, but are struggling to gain viewership and the subscribers you are looking for. The YouTube for Real Estate course will provide you with proven tips and strategies on how to create and cultivate an engaging driven YouTube channel, as well as how to optimize your channel, resulting in higher viewership, subscribers, and yes, deals. But that's not it. I implemented YouTube in my business in early 2021, and it has easily been the best marketing source for meeting new clients that I have ever had in my business, period. Better than expensive geo-farming, internet marketing, and open houses combined. And now it even rivals my repeat and referral business. If you would like to learn all the tips and tricks for meeting new clients using YouTube, simply go to Video Course Login or click the link in the description below and sign up for the YouTube for Real Estate course today. And learn a year's worth of my painstaking research of learning how to use YouTube for real estate in just a few hours by taking the YouTube for Real Estate course. So go to videocourselogin.com right now and use the promo code TomShow at checkout. Again, that's videocourselogin.com, or simply use the link below.
And this is houses?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And are those ones going, I mean, did they list it artificially low? Is it that type of thing happening, or is it kind of closer to the price and just lots? They're all the interest is going to specific properties.
Exactly. That's more what the trend is right now. So for the past few years, what we were doing is we almost had to price super low so that we had 20 people bidding. And then that's how we would reach our fair market value, what buyers would be willing to pay. And when you often looked at those offers, you would have out of 20, 5 at the top, almost identical.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like there was one super out there. It was like 5 right at the top and they were super close. Now we're seeing maybe if there are those 10 offers, they will land more or less around the asking still right now and with conditions. Yeah.
It's interesting because what both of you are seeing in your overall market for multiple offers and how it's happening, multiple offers still with conditions, and like we're talking 2 or 3 offers, not 15. That's the Toronto condo market right now. Like I just had one where I got 5 offers on a property, and we did have an offer night on it, but the winning offer that we took was conditional, and it wasn't crazy over the asking, you know, where the only pocket of Toronto that I'm still seeing like the old type of stuff, and not the price they're selling for, but the action involved is entry level freehold in a pocket that people want. Those you're still seeing listed at $999, selling for 1.3, but they were never worth $999, right? But it's weird because it's happening only there, which probably represents realistically less than 20% of the overall sales. So you're hearing a little bit of a rumbling, but the other stuff, you know, it's kind of what you guys are seeing, where it's there, but it's pretty normal. It feels healthy, right?
Yeah. Did you like the big bids? You
No.
know, with 20 offers, 30 offers. Did you enjoy that? Or were you,
I'll be honest. So like some of my sellers enjoyed it because they would sell properties for more money than we thought, right? Like I was wrong on the valuation because someone probably paid too much, right? Like let's be honest about it. But no, I hated setting offer dates and waiting till the date and stress, because in our market, everyone waits. Like we say, please register by 4 p.m., presentations at 5. And they all wait till 3:57 p.m. And I'm sitting there being like, we got nothing. And then 6 come in at the same time.
Wait until the last minute.
And trying to run it with structure and being fair to every single person and calling back everyone and making sure it's just like that was a skill on its own, how to run a good presentation.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Spreadsheets, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was an art to that madness, I'd say.
So no, I would rather that not happen again, because I don't think that's good for our market regardless. I think good properties that are priced well in good locations will get multiple offers, because that's always how it's going to work.
Yeah.
But when I start to get nervous is like some of the stuff, like I remember early 2022, I made a YouTube video called like, I'm worried about the housing market, because I was like seeing prices and being like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is like that piece of crap sold with 10 offers. Like that was worrying. Now, at least it feels like when I'm seeing sale prices, even though we've seen a slight uptake in the market, it's like, the price makes sense to me. It's not stupid, right?
Feels good, feels fair. Yeah, I agree.
I also wanted to bring something up that actually, Liam Swords, is that his last name? I'm going to say his name. Yeah. Okay. So I had met him in Toronto years ago. I know he was an Ottawa broker as well. He posted something on Instagram I wanted to bring up to you, and maybe I'd love Steve to comment on this also. he was basically saying that all the agencies talking to that do a good amount of business, not people that are doing business. Mm-hmm. They're saying that they have less time than before. Their calendars are filling up with appointments. They're seeing action come back. However, the data is not suggesting it in the sales numbers. And it was interesting, and his conclusion was that's because in this type of market, the people that know what they're doing are getting even more business than ever before. So it's like if you listen to me and Steve every week, and I'm not pumping our tires at all. I'm just saying, like, we sell houses. We do it.
Pump
we do
Tom.
it.
Pump them, Tom.
I'm not pumping. And Natalie, you're the exact same. And I thought there was something interesting there because he's like, listen, even though the numbers don't quite show it yet, the top of the industry, we're busy. I'm busy right now. Steve was just complaining to me about how many appointments he has booked. Like, as we head into spring here, are you finding that on your end as well?
You know what? It's been madness, especially in the last 3 weeks, I'd say. Yep. But even since Monday, man, I think it was 14 hours back to back to back, just calls and meetings, even some offers and stuff in there. So it's a lot of work to see what's going to happen in the next few months, I'd say. But it's exciting. Hearing your phone ring and starting to run around again. I like that, but I'm tired. It's Thursday. I'm tired now.
Yeah, I hear you. And Steve, are you on the same wavelength there?
It's strange that it's coming back. I mean, when we say it's coming back, it's not.
We're not saying prices. We're just saying like interest. Yeah.
Just the amount of people that have come out and said like, okay, I'm ready to get going. Right. Like I was complaining to Tom, right? Like my first day back, I was like, I think my first 2 days back after the vacation I took was like 9, like kind of phone appointments to set up, buyer agents. And it's like, my team's not, we're not, super high producers. We're like 80 deals a year.
But in the industry, Steve, that is a super high producer. Just
but we're no mega team, or this isn't 600 homes a year or 250 a year, right? This is 80 homes a year, and so that whatever translates 7-8 deals a month, whatever it is. But anyway, it's crazy that it is that busy just so quickly, kind of out of nowhere. But like a bunch of these people were thinking about doing stuff last year, or like I think I did a video last week where it was like Homer Simpson, where he's going into the bush. Yeah, like this was them coming out of the bush, right? Like they're starting to appear again. Crazy trend though, probably my business only, because I know you guys probably don't have this issue there, but maybe it's just my age, Tom. Most of the transactions I'm dealing with right now, most of them are in 55 plus complexes.
Oh, okay. Is
retirement? So it's like, we have age restrictions here. They've just removed most of our age restrictions, but we still have 55 plus. So we've got lots of people going into homes. I think maybe people going into homes is now a thing again, right? It wasn't.
Steve, are you farming 55 plus buildings? Are you going to play bridge on?
I am not.
Thursday afternoons or something.
When you buy 2 books of business of people that are over 55, that's where a lot of your, because that's where I've been for sure. But it's crazy to me that it's like, it's what, power of attorney, somebody going into a home, power of attorney. There's multiples of those, and then people downsizing. It's people getting on in years, and the weird part for our market is that age restriction is there, so that's not affordable housing stock coming to young families trying to get in. This is downsizers only.
I guess they've already technically downsized from the house into that.
That's
building.
Our client, but the buyer is going to be coming from like a detached home. So if the detached market doesn't take off, the 55 plus market is kind of tough still.
True. What's the price point in a 55 plus building? Like, what does that cost?
Oh man, they can be anywhere from.
Are they cheaper?
They're definitely cheaper.
Okay,
they're for sure cheaper. I've got one coming up at 300, and I've got one over $1 million. So it just fluctuates.
Crazy.
Yeah.
In Ottawa, it's usually not a downsize to go into the adult communities. Usually it's a bit more of a sideways step, I'd say.
What is...
So I've got an Ottawa question. Do you keep a little bit of rotten fruit in the side thing of your, like right in the console of your car for when you see a politician? Like, how does that work? Or do you just yell boo?
You know what? My windows are tinted, so even if I did something, no one would see me.
Smart.
But definitely I'm not throwing apples or tomatoes.
Hey,
recommend
Steve,
tomatoes, not apples.
Steve,
Oh, okay.
I was getting lunch the other day. I was looking at a TV in the place I was getting lunch, and they had like CP24 running all day. It's got the news headlines, and it said Trudeau has just launched a YouTube channel to better show Canadians how the government works. So we've got some competition on this platform now. Do you think he's going to have comments turned on or off?
I highly doubt comments will be turned on that channel, just like most of the news channels now too.
Yeah. All right. Enough of politics. Nat, I am living in Toronto. Okay, not me. I'm making up a story here. I'm living in Toronto. I'm looking around. I'm going, you know what? Toronto is really expensive, and my job is almost fully remote. And then I start looking at other places. Okay, I could go just outside. I could go, Guelph, Kitchener, but Hamilton, and all those markets went up in price as well. Or I could travel east, and I could go move to Ottawa. It's a big city hub. It's got a lot going on. What does it cost me if I want to get a condo, a townhouse? Do you guys have semi-detached homes too?
We do, however, so downtown in trendy areas, we have a lot of infills that are semis.
Okay.
In the suburbs, it's more frequent to have a townhome.
Okay. And what does it, like, so let's say condo, entry-level condo, what does it cost me?
1 bedroom with parking. In a nice area, you're looking at $440 average right now.
Okay. And then jumping up to 2-bedroom condo?
Hovering the late 500-600s, but it depends on what it is. I just sold a really nice 2-bedroom towards an 870.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then townhouses, you had mentioned earlier in the call, had gone crazy during the run up in prices. Have they come down to earth a little bit? What does a townhouse cost?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends on the type of townhome. So a traditional 2-story townhome, and also the era. So if we have one that is the shine of the shine, so it has really nice finishes, it's a nice square footage, nice builder, we're still at about the 700 towards 800 mark, but that's on the higher scale. And then if you want to get in and you're like, you know what, I just want a freehold townhome and I'm good with a 3-bedroom backyard, and it can be about a 2005 to 2015, you could probably get in, I would say 630, 650.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still compared to Toronto, much more affordable. And that's freehold.
That's freehold.
Yeah.
And you have a garage too. So it's like one of the, you know what I mean? Like one of the traditional builders where they're building a community and you have the 3-bedroom.
It's okay to say cookie cutter. This is a cookie cutter safe zone.
Cookie cutter. Yeah.
It looks like
it's amazing. The value on those aren't higher. Like for condos, sounds like we're in the same. Although you're in the city, I'm in the burbs, so I guess. But like our detached market and our townhouses are so much higher. It's just crazy. But our condos seem to start kind of in the same range, like $450 for a 1-bed.
Yeah, and that's with parking.
You would only get. I'm in the burbs, man. If you don't have a car. This isn't like the downtown style. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're gonna walk to
Ottawa. Most people have a car because of our transit system.
Oh, you've got our transit system. Perfect.
Oh, it's the lack of good transit system. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough to get around sometimes. I hate. I don't want to badmouth anyone at the city of Ottawa in terms of transit, but it is a bit more difficult and lengthy to get around.
That's who you save your tomatoes for. Is the people in charge of transit. Nat, if you ever went to Steve's house when you're driving around, it looks like the Stepford Wives. Like all the homes, they're all just the same. Everyone puts out their garbage at the same time. They're brainwashed. It's like a little Sims community.
Strange, Tom, because when I go to Toronto, I feel the same way. It's just here we build with wood and like vinyl siding, and there you guys are just all brick.
I love a red brick house though. That's like, and I love how it's coming back into style. A lot of people redoing homes are going back to red brick.
Yeah, a nice front porch.
Yeah, it's that mix, that charm where like my floors creak a bit, but I like it. Like I like that my house is 100 years old. You don't like that, Steve? Yeah.
No way, man. We tear stuff down 30 years old.
Nat, So you're right in the hub of Ottawa. We've talked about what it would cost. Actually, let's jump. What's a detached house?
Okay, so suburb, you're definitely in for $1,050,000, I would say, for 4-bedroom above grade. And then it goes, they've come down a touch where if you have a really big home in the suburbs with a beautiful backyard oasis, we were hitting some higher numbers. Now we're at about 1.25, 1.4.
We're moving to Ottawa. Let's go.
I've heard though that Ottawa, so like living in Toronto my whole life, I'm like, it's great, but it's Toronto. It's so cold so long of the year. I hear that Ottawa gets winters way worse than us. Is that true?
Yes. I find this winter, though, I've been hearing from my Toronto friends where you've had some bad weather and we haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So we have a lot of snow here this year. The snow piles at the end of your driveway are huge. And you wear your big poofy jackets and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you drive down to Parliament and you get your bundle of taxpayers' money, take it home, throw it in your stove.
Yeah.
That's how it works, eh?
Heat up. That's where our tax dollars are going.
Yeah. Nat, do you ever feel like Ottawa gets almost like lost in the shuffle here? And even like for, I've wanted to have you on the show for a while. We've been chatting about it, but you're the first person that's come on that's been in the Ottawa market where, you think about immigration coming to Canada and we all talk about, GTA, Greater Vancouver area. There's this big push right now for Alberta, right? Because of what the tax rate and their tech sector and the fact that you can get a house at half the cost here. Do you feel like, as someone that's lived their whole life in Ottawa, you're like, hey guys, don't forget about us. Like, we're pretty good too.
Yeah, totally. So we have a nice restaurant scene. I find Ottawa's gorgeous and there's a lot of outdoor living activities. It's also kind of nice to be in a city where it's small enough where you can still drive 20 minutes to go see most of your friends, whichever direction they're in, and yet have that big town vibe here and there. So I like being under the radar.
Yeah, that's interesting. My recollection of Ottawa is like going there on a school trip or something where you no, before university. This was like I was young and you'd like skate on the canal and you go get a beaver tail and you go stand outside the government building. And that's all I honestly know. Like I'm really uneducated on.
Well, it's
like,
kind of funny
what's great about Ottawa? Like what, tell me, like sell me on Ottawa.
Okay.
What's so great about Ottawa? Why are people moving there?
Oh my goodness. So what I love is that, so you go skating on the canal, but even in the summertime, you have the canal and that center focal point of Ottawa. So many directions that you're driving to the core or Glebe, Westboro, Hintonburg, even Old Ottawa South, you're driving through and you're going to catch a glimpse of that beautiful canal. You also have the Rideau River and Ottawa River. So we do have quite a bit of walking paths that are maybe inspired by walking and, water inspired paths. And then what else is cool is that you can head just over the bridge, or there's a few bridges over to Quebec. So you can go into the Gatineau Hills, go for hiking, a lot of cycling in Ottawa and surrounding areas, even skiing. It's really close to Tremblant. So Ottawa itself, what I love about that is a proximity to different communities. I find that there's a nice balance with outdoor living, and then you can also retreat, go to work, meet your friends on the weekend. It's easy to get around. That's what I like about Ottawa. I'm also a little biased because I'm born and raised here, so my family and friends are all here. So I love to be able to just get out and see everybody. Social.
At the onset of this podcast, I had introduced you as an Ottawa legend and team leader and all these great things, but there's actually a title that is newer to you and is newer to me. Well, they're slightly different titles, but the same idea. You're now a mom.
Yes.
And so that's pretty amazing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How has your life changed since you've had someone to care for that's not just your husband? Like, what's that like? And especially running the type of business you run.
Yeah.
What's that been like?
Well, it's interesting because even to back it up a moment, it's hard to get out of that hamster wheel of busy to look at your life and be like, what do I really need to add or change or move towards? So I remember a few years going, hey, at the pace I'm working, what changes do I need to do in order to have a family? And so we hired more people on our team. We have a strong administrative side on our team so that I'm able to free up a little bit more time. And then I actually kept my pregnancy on the down low because as a woman, and we're probably going to get different feedback on this, I was nervous and scared that people wouldn't call me to work. And a lot of people say, oh, no, you don't have to worry about that. People are going to call you. It's you. And I'm like, well, I think a lot of people may wonder, or assume you're taking a 1-year mat leave or you're not going to be available for me. But I chose to keep it quiet during that time until people saw me or we chatted so that people would still call. And then in labor, I was able to negotiate about 6 different deals.
Of course you did.
And then after having the baby, obviously, we have a full-time nanny that helps out.
Yep.
I even hired overnight doula help, and it's like overnight nursing, so that I could have some help during the nights so that I could work the next day. So it was more just, we have a huge support system around us, and my husband is excellent. He works with our team, but he and I working from home and being able to see our daughter when she's awake or have little moments where they are memorable and quality is important to me.
I think I never really like to give Steve credit for anything, but obviously Steve has had kids for longer than both me and you have been parents. And he's always been like, I don't care as long as my kids, I raise my kids the right way. Like, business is business and it'll always come back. But like, my focus is like this. And it's funny because I knew Steve as like conference buddy drinking Steve. And then I see Steve in his home life, and like, you know, he's not a strict parent's the wrong word probably, but like, you know, you've got your rules, and I'm learning. I'm not at the point yet that my kid's like misbehaving and there's much to do because he's like, you know, 14 months old.
We need tips.
But Steve, do you have tips for us? We both got kids almost approaching 1 and just over 1. You've got 2 that are, well, older than that. How do you manage it?
Well, schedule. I mean, that's my whole life, right? Schedule. I do not miss a dinner.
Yeah.
It's my rule.
Same.
Right? Like, I take the kids to school every morning. My wife picks them up, but my butt is in the door at 5 p.m. 5 days a week. And I don't think I've missed more than, outside of conferences, maybe 3 dinners. And my oldest is almost 9.
Wow, I love that.
So like, you would love that. Do that.
No, I do. I actually do. So my husband and I eat dinner at 5 p.m. now, even with our little one.
Yeah. So like that's our routine, right? And then some, like 5 to 7 is now a non-negotiable, right? Like, it's blocked off in the calendar. And I think you got to stick to that. But as Tom discovered,
Steve has rules.
I am no joke when it comes to being a parent, just all of them. Right? Just have all of them. Like, honestly, this is a tough thing with me because I am not anyone that, I don't blame the children for their behavior. So if you're a parent out there, let me tell you, it is your fault. Mm-hmm. Right? I do not blame the children. And if you get a call that your kid's acting out at school, it is not the kid's fault. Now, the kid might be a bit of an asshole, but again, that's been installed by, the parent, right? So that's just basically it. My mom has a saying, which it really took to heart at one point, which is, I have to prepare my child for the world. Mm-hmm. I cannot prepare the world for my child.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So if you raise a jerk, and then the other one that I love, which is one of Jordan Peterson's things, is don't raise a kid that you don't like. Don't let them do things that you don't like. Right? So I'm tough on my kids. And as a result, me, probably like any other parent, thinks my kids are pretty good kids. But they Tom's right. Like I lay down the law, and as a result, they know what's expected of them. And I think there's a lot of parents that don't do that. I mean, it's the same in business, right? Think about it with your employees. If you don't say, this is the way we do business here, if you don't like it, get out, which is Actually, you want to know a really interesting way to get a point across to your kid?
This episode of the Tom Story Show is brought to you by the Real Estate Video Course. Today's real estate industry has changed, and you can no longer rely primarily on door knocking, cold calling, and geo-farming. While these strategies still work, video provides something that these traditional methods just don't, and that is leads that reach out to you because of you and the message and content that you are providing. I believe that video is king, and that through video, you can leverage your message, create stronger relationships, and become the authority on real estate in your marketplace. The Real Estate Video Course is a 5-part course that will teach you the fundamentals of video, including why it's so impactful, the equipment that you need to invest in to get started, and the proven tips and strategies used to ensure long-term success. So go to videocourselogin.com today to become a true creator, level up your editing and production skills, and develop your real estate video plan to leverage your message to current and prospective clients. That's videocourselogin.com. The link is below in the description, and don't forget to use the discount code TOMSHOW at checkout for 10% off any purchase. That's videocourselogin.com and use the checkout code TOMSHOW. That's TOMSHOW.
This is all my parenting here. This is what my dad
Get
does.
it in closer. Tell me. Yeah.
No, this is what my dad did to me. Not more so my little brother, but like when you don't like the rules, he just was like, simple. I've got a solution. Takes you to the front door, opens the door, puts you on the front porch, and goes, bye. And let me tell you, that's a really good way for this is going to sound terrible, a 5 or 6-year-old to learn that story. Right? So to learn what's expected of them. Go. And
Just to be clear, in where you live, Steve, it doesn't get to -30. So if you're just plopping your kid, in our markets,
do not do this in Edmonton. But like, obviously, that lasts 10 seconds, right? But there is expectation, and it's the same, I'm sure, in business and in anything. So yes, Tom, thank you for letting me go on a rant about my tough parenting.
I wanted to share a story. I had almost a moment of weakness yesterday where my little guy has figured out where his little snack drawer is when he gets home from daycare. But he had gone to it in the morning before he'd eaten breakfast, and I was on the couch, and he waddles over to me, walks over, and he's got 2 bags of cookies in his hands, like these little cookies, and he's like looking at me. He's like, like, can I have one? And I'm looking at Brandon. I'm like, can he have one? She's like, no, he hasn't eaten his breakfast. I'm like, but he's so cute right now. And I didn't give him a cookie, but I felt bad, and I was like, oh no, that didn't feel good.
Here's something that happens though in my house. If you ask my kids who the harder parent is, they will for sure say me. If you ask the kids who the funner parent is, they will also for sure say me.
Because you can go really silly on one end, and then
man, when we're on vacation, it is ice cream for dinner. Right? My littlest had a birthday this last week, and we had birthday cake for breakfast the next day. Right? Now, that's not every day. It's that one day of the year, but those are the types of things you need to do. So you need to know when to turn it off and on, Tom.
Let's segue this from the kids conversation to the setting up your kids' future conversation. Natalie, I know not only do you help people buy and sell real estate when they need your services, but you've also invested into the real estate market during your time of selling as well. And that's something I've been preaching to everyone in our industry, that and the saying that I've used before that I heard at a conference is I've been to a lot of real estate agents' funerals, but never a retirement party. And some people will sell until the last breath that they take. And that's not the life that I'm necessarily looking for. I want to set myself up for the future, and we don't have pensions. So have you been investing heavily the last 10 years as well? That's been something on the mind?
Yes, that is one of my number one goals, because we don't have job certainty, right? And we don't have that protected income. So for sure, over the last 10 years, the biggest goal every year for me is how much money can I save for an investment, and it's property.
Yep.
Landlords get rich while they sleep.
Mm-hmm. In most markets in Canada.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually I wanted to bring up Yeah, I want to bring up as well, because I think that was very interesting. When I was asking you, what does it cost to buy different types of properties? Your answer was always like, well, it depends on this thing. And I think that's really important to discuss, because when consumers hear the news or hear general numbers or watch a portion of this podcast or something else or anything, they hear this and they go, well, that's what that costs. But it's not that simple. It's like you need to talk to someone that fully understands the fundamentals of that market, that can tell you, okay, here's what you want, here's what actually exists. Because that blanket statement of anything we say is so driven down to micro markets, right?
Totally. There's so many different variables, right? And to go, okay, what are our big goals here? So I know some people, multiple people that have, let's say, an average income in Ottawa, and they've gotten to a position where they live so well within their means that by retirement, they have 10 to 12 investment properties. And it's like, how do you do that, right? And so when I chatted with them at the beginning of my career, because they already started their portfolio before me, there's ways to take your investment and allow it to grow in terms of, okay, I bought one property. Once that property now is valued higher, am I going to refinance, pull some money out of that, buy my second property? Yeah. That
so
kind
on
of
and so forth. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So even for myself, the investment properties that we've purchased, I haven't necessarily been saving every year to buy them. Sometimes it's the investment property is now worth X amount. I'm able to pull my down payment from that property with still keeping more than 20% in that property now. And I'm going to buy my second property.
Yeah, the leverage model of, as long as you have that long-term perspective of the market and you know what the history is of your market, it usually plays out pretty well, right?
Yeah, and it's steady. It started 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago. And that's before our market in Ottawa really jumped up. It was a slow and steady pace. And sometimes when you begin investing, you feel like, man, am I ever going to get there? But it's getting into your first property to then lead you into the second or third. And you just create more options that way.
Steve, I know you're the most risk-averse person in the universe. Have you thought about, because you have the secondary property that has gone up in value a lot, maybe the mortgage on it so low that it wouldn't ever make sense to refinance in the near future, but have you thought about unlocking any equity there and going for another one? Do you want to give both your kids a property one day, or just they're going to split the one? How's it going to work?
Pick the favorite.
Yeah.
Whichever one does the dishes the most is going to get the property. No, I haven't gone that far yet, because right now I'm focused pretty hard on deleveraging. Just so the plan is, next time I have to mortgage the house, can I move that debt onto the investment property?
Okay.
Right. But there is a very good chance that, looking 2 or 3 years down the road, there's a chance that by that time I will be maybe just taking that money out of the house again to buy another place, for sure. Like, I got to do that. The loans are really small right now. Like, I thankfully, like, those 2 rents that I'm collecting are paying the 2 mortgages that I have. Plus a little bit more. That will probably change when I go to restructure at 4.5%, because one of them's like sub 2, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, that is the long-term goal. Like you mentioned, no pension. That government job, you kick that thing out, so you got to do something. And right now in Canada, I think you got to have a balanced portfolio of, you got to have your stocks, and you probably got to have some secure cash, and you're probably going to own a lot of real estate, or you should.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality, right? Of how this country works. Like, at the moment, whether we like it or not. And last week when Daryl was on, we talked about this in depth. Like, it's not necessarily the best thing, but it is the reality of where we're at.
Yeah.
Natalie, you used one of my favorite quotes. So I have these mugs along with my terrible shirts. I have these mugs and, logo on one side or whatever, and I give them out to clients. And that's one of the quotes, right? Landlords grow rich in their sleep. The other quotes are like,
Mo
simple
money,
stuff,
mo
right?
problems. Yeah.
That is not one of them. The other ones are like, I want to say it's like, buy land, they're not making it anymore.
Yeah. That
right?
I think about all the time as well.
Yeah. I've got 4. I don't even, the other 2 escape me at the moment, but I've got those, and it's like literally I drink my coffee out of that mug every day. It's just like, remember, just this is the plan. The plan is buy and own forever. Simple.
And I think the reminder is just keep putting that in the universe. If you plan to live well within your means, so a lot of people want the shiny stuff right away, right? And that's an ongoing conversation I have with myself is, do I really need that right now? Or can I save the money and put it towards my end of year investment, right? It's tough to do. And I got to say, some of the motivation that I got was from past clients. They would be 10 years younger than me. And there's numerous ones where they're a single income, and they would come to me and say, I'm ready to buy my first house. I have over 200,000 saved up. And they worked average jobs. They paid rent. But when you pull up to the house, they're driving one of the worst cars I've ever seen, right? And they have really old cell phones, and they don't go out for dinner every weekend. Instead, they have fun with their friends, maybe at someone's house. So their choices every week compounded into $200,000 for their first house.
You're helping a bunch of Steves. It's Steve. Steve's your client.
Steve, I thought you looked familiar.
This is second from the bottom iPhone.
Wow.
And
it ain't broke. Yeah.
What this video
is that the
taken,
XR or something? The 11?
This is now a 12.
Okay. So you're not like too far off.
It's still
no. Like I'm not going to the brand new stuff every time. But this video that's being shot right now is being recorded on my XR. So that's like, Tom Story goes out and buys a new $3,000 camera. Steve plugs in his old iPhone, of which the battery doesn't work anymore unless it's plugged into my computer right now. But you can, like, simple stuff like that is what will set you apart. I remember I had a client this is way back 10 years ago, but she was making $17 an hour. She worked in hospital at like a daycare. There was some sort of daycare in the hospital downtown. So she took the SkyTrain, and she went from her apartment, which was nothing special, and she bought, again, nothing special, but on her own with a $17 salary, she bought a detached house.
Wow.
And what did
How
she
long
do?
ago was this, Steve?
This is 10 years ago.
Okay, so just for perspective, like that, even if you double that salary today, that's not really realistic today. I'm not trying to poo-poo on the story, but...
No, but here's the thing. At that time, I was like, there's no way you're going to do this at $17 an hour. How do you qualify all these things? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I can't, like you were alluding to earlier with all the technology. No cell phone, no cable bill, right? If I had to phone her, I had to try and get her at home on the home line, or when she gave me her daycare number, and I would have to phone through, and they'd be like, Happy Mornings Daycare. And it was like, is so-and-so there? Because they were doing the deal and she's at work, right? Now, she also had a son that was home that she helped support, but he was paying rent. When she bought this next house, it had a basement suite in it, right? Like, but she made it work. And I think that our society is probably so tuned in with just having all the stuff, and dare we say it again on this Tom Story, but having their Disney Plus, right? That is what gets eroded, right? Your YouTube Premium, Tom Story, is eroding your very slowly, but that's how water works. That's how
the amount of ads you watch on YouTube by not having premium is taking more value on your time than my $15 a month is taking on my wallet.
But I watch them all on the Tom Story YouTube channel to try and get you some money.
Oh yeah, actually, I haven't seen a cent from this channel. I thought, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nat, go on.
Well, I was going to say that actually transformed my life too, in a sense where when I start looking at time is money, it's not money, right? So it's like buying my life back. And so sometimes you do have to spend money to buy more time back, right? Because you can't create more time. And money isn't useful if you don't have time. So that's actually a good point. Avoiding, let's say it's that commercial that's going to eat up X amount of time that you could be making more money or spending with someone else. That does make sense. But yeah.
I like it. Thanks for backing me up on that. The first cell phone I ever had, this little like flip phone, and these were the days that like unlimited plans didn't exist, right? So you're really conscious on what you did. The background, minutes. The background of that phone, you could like type in something, and it said "time is money," like on my first cell phone ever, just to remind myself, like if it's not an important call, don't make it. Because it's about to cost me money, or it's going to realistically at the time, it's going to cost my parents money, and then they're going to come for me. So
that's hilarious, Tom, because it actually says I am health conscious because I'm trying to lose weight. My phone, the background of my phone actually says I am health conscious.
There you go. By the way,
be do have Richard Robbins.
Nat, Steve's been on a weight loss journey, and he posted a picture the other day. I didn't even recognize him. He's doing an amazing job.
Uglier than ever.
I'm like, put it back on. No, Steve, you wanna give anyone? We're entering the last 5 minutes of the podcast. You want to give anyone an update on what's going on?
Yeah, man. I went on that little vacation of mine, and I had a incident with a loaf of focaccia and olive oil. I actually told my wife if I gotta die, throw me in a swimming pool of olive oil and toss me a life preserver of focaccia bread, because I'm going to eat that thing and I'm going to drown for sure. It sounds like a way better way to go. But, a few weeks back now and got all that water weight off. So, yeah, man, I'm crushing it. Not going to lie. I'm approaching the 35-pound mark.
Wow. What have you changed? What have you done?
I took the fork out of my mouth.
Okay.
And cut down on alcohol, right?
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a calorie thing. Yeah, for sure.
And you're working out once a day? Is that?
I've always worked out, Tom. I know it doesn't look like it, but I've always worked out.
He's not in his basement office, or else you'd see the unused gym behind him, Natalie.
It is not unused.
Cobwebs.
It's very used. Even doing 2-a-days some days. But it's simple as high protein, low calorie.
Yeah.
Stop having a snack at night. Stop having an ounce of scotch every night.
Ask your doctor about Ozempic.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's a weight loss thing. It's like taking over the
No. It's just it. And here's the best part of this. And let's tie it back in. The amount of now, like, less restaurants, less money on booze, right? Like my scotch habit is no longer $100 a week, right? Like these are the things that will all add up. And actually make me healthier as we go. So,
and do you find you have more clarity now that you're not eating late at night and stuff? Like, do you sleep better, more clarity, anything like that?
Sleep has improved. Clarity is in the ditch as usual.
Nothing will save him from that. Yeah.
My brain is working too fast most of the time. But sleep with the right supplements. So I started taking let's call it a testosterone helping supplement, like an over-the-counter thing, not like TRT or something. And then a zinc magnesium mix at night, and then extra vitamin D in the morning. And that, along with just reducing calories, man, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. It's just not easy.
Natalie, I want to wrap this podcast up with kind of an outlook on the spring market. I think you as someone that brings a lot of listings to the market in Ottawa will have, a good perspective on this. Is this the first normal spring market we're going to have in about 3.5-4 years, because there's no crazy rate hikes and there's no pandemic and all that stuff? Does it feel like, listings are coming and it's going to be good, not crazy? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, it's feeling like there's seeds being planted. Mm-hmm. And people care what their product looks like still. So even in that fast-paced market, I always encourage sellers to make their house look its best, because there's always competition. Yeah. But I'm seeing people take their time right now to try to do their best to make the most amount of money or set their best foot forward, I would say. But I do see Ottawa's spring market. We're already in our spring market, I would say, in Ottawa, just because our winters and stuff. But the next few months look like there's going to be more listings for sure. And there's a lot more buyers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for sellers too, like sellers were being told that the market was bad for the last 9 months, so they had no reason to come to the market. Yeah. And now that the buyers have slowly started coming back, I think the seller, and this will be a good thing, right? Because it will balance it out a bit, that it won't be one way or the other. I think we need the sellers to want to sell as well. There needs to be a motivation for them, right?
Yeah. And I feel like the conversations I've been having, and maybe you find the same, they are ready, and it's not a speculation of, oh, I'm going to maybe look or start. It's no, I'm ready on April 20th to go out for houses, and we're going to buy within a certain period of time.
Well, because you know what? They've been thinking about it for a year, watching the rates change and everything change, and they wanted to see some stability come back. And, you know, with Bank of Canada holding, and and I don't know when this episode's coming out, Steve. I don't think the next announcement will be before then. But, you know, they're like, okay, I've waited. I'm ready to do something now. I'm gonna own this for minimum the next 5 years. It's okay. Like, I gotta live somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what we're feeling.
Well, Nat, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you being here. For people that want to connect with you about Ottawa or anything, where should they go to connect with you?
NatalieMcGuire.ca.
How do we spell McGuire?
McGuire.
I'll tell you, because there's Linda McGuire who we know, right? In Burlington, and sometimes when I'm sending emails to each of you, you spell it differently, and I'm like, it messes with my head. I always spell it wrong.
It's a G, big G.
Okay.
MCG, yeah.
Amazing. Steve, any final thoughts to wrap it up?
Yeah, this was awesome. A lot of fun. I apologize to anybody that was looking for hardcore real estate talk, and we blabbered on about parenting for a bit. So when we say in the intro to the podcast, real estate and
other
whatever
stuff
else is on our mind, this was a whatever else. So
I'm going to pick my guy up from daycare in about half an hour, and I'm going to give him as many cookies as he wants.
Oh, nice. I love it. Well,
show up with like go buy a big cookie. Just be like, yeah.
All the other kids, you'd be like, your dad's the best.
Yeah. Remember, you love me more than your mom. You have to say that. You have to whisper that in their ear at night.
Yeah. Sweet whispers. All right, that was awesome. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you've been watching on YouTube, thank you for listening. If you've been listening on the audio apps, I hope you have an amazing day, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.